Welcome back. I'm working on a playlist here. It's called the 7 Steps to Deep Meditation. So I wrote it out on Patreon, and bit by bit I've been making videos so that you can follow along and have a very deep process to go very deep in meditation. What's the beginning of that? Heart rate variability, resonant breathing, of course, right? So it's a wonderful, wonderful progression. And by the way, I recommend that you check out each of the playlists and see if there's something in there that appeals to you. There's the heart rate variability, resonant breathing that you can follow along with. And there's that 7 steps to deep meditation that you might really like. The concepts in that playlist are fundamental to meditation. If you really want a very quick, easy, confident grasp of meditation very, very quickly, then you want to go through that playlist because it's going to guide you very directly into what has to be accomplished in order to have a very good meditation. Now, you might be accomplishing some of those already and you weren't aware of it. And so when you become aware of it, it will compound your success because you'll be getting into it more regularly. You'll say, this is where I need to be. And now I understand how I get there. And so I just follow the steps and I go right in. So the next element we need to talk about is the tranquil breath. So let's talk about the 3 phases of the tranquil breath. What is the tranquil breath? It's a very low idle state. So it's beyond the scope of heart rate variability. It's beyond holding your breath. It's something very, very subtle. And so what will often happen is you'll be doing your meditation and then your breath will suddenly just take a pause. So what will often happen is you will be in your meditation and suddenly your breath will invite you to take a very long pause. So you'll be in your normal rate or you'll be controlling your breath rate so that you can get into heart rate variability, resonant breathing, and suddenly you will just feel like, I don't feel any need to take a breath. And so you'll just pause. And then you'll start up the cycle again, and then it will happen again. You'll just pause. Or you might go into a very nice trance state. So you'll just be there, and then you'll just kind of forget everything. You won't fall asleep. You're still conscious, you're still aware, but you'll just kind of forget everything for a moment. And then you'll come back to your breath and be like, well, I need to keep working on my breath, right? And you'll notice my breath is in this very shallow rate. These are the signs of the beginning of the tranquil breath. And it's really, really wonderful because you're actually going into a kind of hibernation. So the tranquil breath and the freeze response are kind of like a hibernation state. And that's what you're doing. Your digestive will slow down, your heart rate slows down, your breath rate slows down, everything slows down into a low idle state. This is the whole point of yoga. Put the body into a low idle state. It affects the mind, so it goes into a low idle state. And suddenly you're going right down the rabbit hole into a deep meditation. And isn't that amazing? And so this tranquil breath is very akin to what happens when you sleep. So if you watch somebody sleep, the first rate that you might notice is that they're doing a belly breath, not up in the chest. They're doing a belly breath, but it's a little bit rapid. And that's the beginning of the tranquil breath. When you witness it in yourself, it's a shallow breath rate down in the belly, and it's a little bit rapid. So it'll seem a little fast at first. You're like, oh, this doesn't seem, it should be very slow, right? And it'll be a little fast. Is this the tranquil breath? I don't think so because it's so rapid. Well, it's the very beginning of it. That's what it is. It's the very beginning. So that's the first rate of the tranquil breath. Now, when your digestive system is more empty, when your heart rate is lower, when your breath rate, you've been working on it, and so it's consistently lower, And because of all of that wonderful work, your mind is also slower. Well, then the tranquil breath will respond and it will sink into the second phase. And in the second phase, it's now still a shallow belly breath. So it's very small, but now it's longer, isn't it? So it's not rapid like the first rate. Now it's longer. So now it's a long, shallow breath, isn't it? All right, so that's the second phase of the tranquil breath. Really important that we understand and we see the beginnings of the tranquil breath and we start to notice the first phase of the tranquil breath so that we can find ourselves eventually in that second, longer rate of the tranquil breath. And again, it's a belly breath, right? It's not up here in the chest. I'm just trying to simulate the length of it, right? It's a little bit longer. These are all generalities, right? We have to understand the principle and not be stuck on it. Well, it was exactly this much. How much was it exactly? No, don't worry about that. Just go with the flow and just notice it's a longer, shallow breath. And that's the second phase. And then what will happen? The heart rate will go down because everything in the body is reflexive. So the lower tranquil breath will stimulate all of the slower responses in the body, a deeper freeze response, a slower heart rate, a slower breath rate during the day, and a slower mental and emotional state. All of this will compound and you will drop into an even slower, shallow breath rate. And so sometimes you'll notice this when you look over at somebody that's sleeping, you can't even tell that they're breathing. It's so slow and so shallow. You see them somewhere in between and you go, are they breathing? And so you'll look at yourself in meditation, you'll go, am I breathing? I'm not sure. And if you're new to this, you'll panic. You'll go, oh my God, I'm not breathing. And then you'll excite yourself out of the state. But then you'll come back later. You'll come back again and you'll be like, oh my God, it's so slow. It's a really, 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 really slow breath rate. And this is why you get yogis talking about breathlessness. The problem I have with breathlessness is that your unconscious mind is here to keep you safe. And so if you tell your unconscious mind, well, I want to go into the breathless state, and that's your left mind, and then your unconscious mind says, but I have to keep you safe. And now you're in conflict. And so if you can understand these three phases of the tranquil breath and understand that very slow, tranquil breath, that's what they're really talking about. And it wasn't that you have to become breathless. No, you don't. You just need a very low rate. And that's what enables true concentration. Everything gets out of the way. Imagine you're in a room with 1,000 engines and it's just driving you mad. You can't even think straight. Well, of course you can't concentrate. There's too much noise. But when you have a freeze response and you have a low breath rate and you have a reduced heart rate, all of these compound and your emotional state is calm. And all of this compounds, and then, oh my God, you can actually think straight. And this is what enables concentration, true concentration. Not a forceful, focused concentration that's coming from the sympathetic system, but a very natural, full, parasympathetic concentration. It's enabling this because all of the noise is going away. All of the distraction is going away. Because everything's going down into a low idle state. That's what enables, that's the purpose of all of this yoga, is to get into that low idle state. So those are the three phases. And if you can learn to go with the flow and witness the beginning, then you have a better chance of getting into the middle. And if you can get into the middle and do it repeatedly, you have a better chance of getting into the very low idle state of the third phase of the tranquil breath. I have a wonderful training that's called the fourth phase of breath. The fourth phase of breath is the tranquil breath. Was that confusing? I think that was confusing. So when Patanjali spoke about breath, he said you can, 1, you can breathe in, 2, you can breathe out, 3, you can hold your breath, and then 4, your breath kind of does this mysterious thing where you enter a low idle state, and we'll call it the tranquil breath. So the 4th phase of breath per Patanjali is the tranquil breath, and that's what I teach in the training. Okay, and then in this video I'm saying, okay, there's 1, 2, 3 levels or phases of that tranquil breath so that you can get an idea of what we're aiming at in the tranquil breath. All right? All right. And you can witness it when you watch somebody sleep. It's just a very shallow breath rate, but then it gets slower, and then it gets really slow. And these last 2, that's where the real magic begins in meditation. It's the low idle state which enables the process of absorption and samadhi. And without it, we don't have a very good chance. We have much less of a chance of getting into absorption and samadhi. And with that very low idle state, our success rate for going into absorption will compound. It will explode. Our chances of getting into absorption, getting into expansion of the right hippocampus, it just explodes because it's so clear in that space. So I hope you loved this. If you did, be sure to hit that bell down below so I can see all of you.